Alright, today we are going to look at Unit 9 review. So again, same format as before. I'm going to go through and do one of each type, and then I will go back and finish up the review. So on 1 through 10, you are rewriting the expressions either in radical form or in exponential form. So if it's a base raised to a power, you're turning it into the radical. If it's already in the radical, you're going to turn it into a base raised to a power. So right here, if I have 4 to the 3/4, remember the number on the bottom goes in the crack, so that is the root you are taking, and then it's 4 raised to the numerator. So I get the 4th root of 4 cubed. We're not simplifying, we are just rewriting on these. All right, so if I have 5 to the 9/5, number on the bottom goes in the crack, and then 5 to the 9th. Okay. Now if we go the other way, we are going to take the base and raise it to a power. So right now this 4 is being raised to 1, but the bottom that's in the crack is the 5. This x is being raised to the 3, and the number in the crack goes on the bottom. So 4 to the 1/5, x to the 3/5. Alright, over here I have the 4th root of 4x to the 5th y squared. So this 4 is being raised to the 1. So the number that goes in the bottom is the number in the crack, so 4 to the 1/4. And I have x to the 5th over 4, and y to the 2 over 4. Okay? Alright, on 11, 12, 13, and 14, you are simplifying your problems, and then you are going to write your answer in radical form. So remember that if you are multiplying in between the same base, you add the exponents. The only difference is now we have fractions. So 3/4 plus 5/4 is going to give me 8 over 4, which 8 over 4 can be reduced. 8 over 4 is really just 2, so I end up with an x squared. This is no longer a fraction, which means I cannot write it in radical form. On 12, you're raising a power to another power, which means I'm going to multiply my exponents. Since they are fractions, I'm multiplying fractions, which just means top times top, bottom times bottom. So 3 times 2 is going to give me 6, and 4 times 9 is going to give me 36. Reduce if you can. So that's going to give me 1 over 6, and then if I rewrite that as a radical, bottom goes in the crack, and then it's x to the 1. Okay. Right, on number 13, we are dividing, so that means we are going to subtract our exponents. However, this time, we do not have a common denominator. I have an 8 and a 2, so what is the smallest number that both of them can go into? Well, that's an 8. So if I make that an 8, it makes my numerator a 4. And then 3/8. So now I'm going to subtract 4/8 minus 3/8. It's going to give me 1/8. Oh, sorry. So I get x to the 1/8, which when I rewrite as a radical is the 8th root of x to the 1. Alright. On 15 through 18, you are going to solve these equations. You need to check your solutions to make sure that they do in fact work once we have found them. So you're not just solving, you do have to go back and check them. So I need to get the radical by itself on one side of the equal sign. So right here I'm going to go ahead and subtract this 2 to the other side, and I'm going to end up with the cube root of 5x plus 12 equals 3. So in this case I have a cube root. So to get rid of that cube root, I'm going to cube both sides. On the left-hand side, I'm just going to be left with 5x plus 12. On the right-hand side, I'm cubing 3. So 3 times 3 times 3, which gives me 27. Now I want to solve for x. So I'm going to subtract 12. So I get 5x equals 15. Divide by 5. So x equals 3. But again, we really want to check that to make sure that it works. So I'm going to go ahead and say cube root of 5 times 3 plus 12, is that equal to 3? So I have the cube root of 15 plus 12. So the cube root of 27, is that 3? Yes. So my answer works. Okay? Alright, on number 16, I need to go ahead and get my radical by itself on one side of the equal sign, but it already is, so I'm going to go ahead and square both sides. So I'm going to get 5x minus 4 equals 3x minus 14. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract the 3x. So 2x minus 4 equals negative 14. Add 4. So 2x equals negative 10. Divide by 2. So I get x equals negative 5. Alright, now that I have that answer, I want to go ahead and check it. So again, plug it back in. I'm going to get negative 25 minus 4. Is that the same thing as negative 15 minus 14? I get negative 29 and negative 29, so same. Alright, on number 17, I need to get the radical by itself on one side of the equal sign. So first thing I'm going to do is divide by that 3. So I'm going to get the square root of x plus 4 equals 5. Now I need to get rid of this radical, so I'm going to square both sides. On the left hand side I just get x plus 4. On the right hand side I'm going to get 25. And now subtract 4. Okay. Come back over here. So I get 21 plus 4. Is that equal to 5? So the square root of 25, is that equal to 5? Yes. So 21 works. Okay? Alright, let's go ahead and look on the back. So 19 and 20 are a little different. They're still solving, but you have an x on the side that's not in the radical, which means you have to check these answers. More than likely, one of these will not work. So I'm going to go ahead and square right here. Remember that x minus 2 squared is really saying x minus 2 times x minus 2. So when you multiply that out, I get x squared minus 4x plus 4. On the right hand side, I'm just going to get 2x minus 4. I want to get everything onto one side. I want to get everything onto the x squared side. So I'm going to subtract 2x. And then add 4. Now I'm looking for what multiplies to give me 8 and adds to give me 6. So if I list my factors, so 2 and 4. So I'm going to get x equals 2 and x equals 4. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to try these. So 2 minus 2, is that equal to 2 times 2 minus 4? So 0 equal to the square root of 0? Yes. Okay. 4 minus 2, is that equal to 2 times 4 minus 4? So is 2 equal to the square root of 8 minus 4? Yes. So both of these work this time. Okay. 21 through 23 are similar to what you did on the first set. You're just rewriting them either in radical form or in exponential form. Now in 24 through 26, you are actually going to evaluate. You want to simplify these expressions. So if I have negative 27 to the 1/3, rewrite it as a radical, so cube root of negative 27. Now, see if this can be reduced. So negative 27 divided by 3. Okay, I know that all of these need to be negative in order for negative 3, negative 3, negative 3 to give me negative 27. Cube root. So that brings out a negative 3. I have nothing left. So my answer is negative 3. Okay. On 32 to the 3/5, that means I have the 5th root of 32 cubed, Remember, there's a couple different ways you can do this. You can go ahead and cube 32 and then break it down and see if you have sets of 5. Or I can pretend like that 3 is not there right now and break down this 5th root of 32. So I know it's divisible by 2. It's a 5th root, which means I need 5 of something. So the 5th root of 32 is 2. Now put that cubed back on there. So I get 8. Okay? If you actually cubed 32 in the beginning and then broke it down, you would get the same answer. It's just going to be a larger number to break down. Okay? On this one we have 9/4 to the 3/2. So I have the square root of 9/4 cubed. Again, I'm going to ignore that cubed and I'm going to take the square root of 9/2. So the square root of 9 is 3. The square root of 4 is 2. And that is still being cubed, which if you actually cube out gives you 27 over 8. Okay? Alright, on number 27, now we are solving equations that still are radical equations, but this time they're written with the rational exponent. So I still want to get the base raised to the power by itself on one side, so that I can then take the reciprocal exponent. So right here I have 2/3 times 4x minus 65 raised to the 3/4 equals 18. So I need to get rid of this 2/3 first. So I can divide by 2/3, but I know that dividing by 2/3 is really the same thing as multiplying by the reciprocal, which means I'm going to get 4x minus 65 to the 3/4 equals 18 times 3 divided by 2 gives me 27. Okay? Now that I have the base raised to the fraction power by itself, to get rid of that, I'm going to raise it to the reciprocal. If I do it on that side, I have to do it on the right-hand side. On the left, I'm just going to get the 4x minus 65. Over here, I'm taking the cube root of 27 to the 4th. So the cube root of 27 is 3, and then 3 to the 4th is going to give me 81. So we'll do that. Okay. Now add 65. So I get 4x equals 146. Divide by 4. And I'm going to get 36.5. Okay? Alright, 28 is really similar. Alright, 29. This is a multiple choice question. It wants to know which one of these is a valid step in solving this equation. So I would just say start solving it. So I have 2m plus 1 to the 1/4 minus 2 equals 1. So the first thing I'm going to do is add the 2. So now I have 2m plus 1 to the 1/4 equals 3. Is that a choice anywhere? No. So, keep going. Now that that's by itself, I'm going to raise it to the reciprocal. So on the left, I'm just going to get 2m plus 1. On the right, 3 to the 4th is 81. Now look, is that a possible answer? It is, so H is your answer. Alright, on 30, you were looking at an application problem. So you were told the equation V equals 20 times T plus 273 relates the speed with air temperature. We want to know, what is the air temperature when the speed is 440? Which means this is speed, so it's going to go in for V. So 440 equals 20 times T plus 273. So we're trying to find T. We're trying to find the temperature. So the first thing we're going to do is divide both sides by 20. So 22 equals the square root of T plus 273. The radical is by itself on one side of the equal sign, which means I can square it. So I get 484 equals T plus 273. So to get T by itself, I'm just going to rewrite it right here. I'm going to subtract the 273 from both sides. So 211 is the temperature. Okay? So that is one of each kind. So if that is enough for you, you can go ahead and stop watching the video. For those of you that would like to continue watching, I am going to go back through and finish up. So look at number 2. Again, we are just rewriting in either radical form or in exponential form. So you're just reversing them. So I have 18 to the 5/6. So remember, the number in the bottom goes in the crack, and then 18 to the 5th. So the numerator becomes the power it's being raised to. So 3x to the 2/5, 5th root of 3x squared. This one's a little different. The 3 is not included in the 2/5, so the 3 is going to go on the outside, and you're taking the 5th root of x squared. Okay. Over here, we have the whole thing of 4x being cubed. So if I rewrite it, 4x over 3 to the 5th. Okay. Right here, again, we don't have a number, so that's a square root, but the x and the y are both being raised to the 3, so x, y. But now we're going to make it 3 halves. Okay. Same thing here, the whole thing is being cubed, so 2x cubed and the 7th root. Okay. Alright, 14, you are trying to simplify your expression, so again, you are multiplying in between, so I'm going to add my exponents. So plus 5/7 gives me 8/7, which if my numerator is bigger than my denominator, when I rewrite it in radical form, I know something is going to come out. So I have the 7th root of y to the 8th. So if I wrote out 8 y's, do I have a set of 7? Yeah. I have one set of 7 with 1 left over. Okay? Okay. 18, we're going to solve this radical equation, so we need to make sure that our square root is by itself on one side. So I need to go ahead and divide by 2 first. So 4x minus 16 equals negative 10. Okay. If you continued solving from here, hopefully you would check your answer and you realize it doesn't work. Because I have a square root is equal to a negative number, that's not possible. There is no solution. Alright, so square roots cannot equal a negative. Okay? So if you went through and solved it, you would get an answer, but when you went back to check that answer, it would not work. Alright, so that's kind of a second way to make sure that you did the problem correctly. Alright, on number 20, this is one where we have an x on both sides. So I'm going to go ahead and square. Remember that this is saying 6 plus x, 6 plus x. So I get x squared plus 12x plus 36. And on the right hand side, I just get 2x plus 12. I'm going to get everything onto the side with the x squared. Subtract my 12. So I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to give me 24 and add to give me 10. So 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. So I get 4 and 6. So I get x equals negative 4 and x equals negative 6. So both of these are negative this time, so it doesn't really matter which one I start with. So if I say 6 plus a negative 6, is that equal to 2 times negative 6 plus 12? So over here I'm going to get 0. Is 0 equal to the square root of negative 12 plus 12? Yes. Now I'm going to get 6 plus a negative 4. So I get 2. Is 2 equal to negative 8 plus 12? Yes. So again, both of them work. Okay. 21 through 23, you were just rewriting in exponential or radical form. So I have the fourth root of 5p cubed. So you have 5p cubed and then the fourth root. Here you have 33 to the 1, but then you're taking the cube root, so 33 to the 1/3. Over here we're going to do the opposite, so I'm taking the fourth root of 14 cubed. Okay? Alright, 28. You are solving the rational exponent equation. You're trying to get the base to the power by itself, so it already is by itself. So from here I'm going to raise to the reciprocal on both sides. On the left I'm just going to get the 2x plus 6. On the right, saying 8 to the 2/3 is saying the cube root of 8 squared. The cube root of 8 is 2. Then we're going to square that so we get 4. So I get 2x plus 6 equals 4. Now, solve for x. And there we go. So we get negative 1. Okay. We've got one more problem, 31. So again, it's an application problem. You're given this equation that says the circular velocity, v, in miles per hour of a satellite orbiting Earth, is given by this formula, where r is the distance in miles from the satellite to the center of the Earth. So if I have Earth, here's the center, this is r to your satellite out here. Okay? So we want to know how far is the satellite from the center of Earth if the velocity is 17,213, which means when I set up my equation, I'm going to plug in the 17,000 for v. Okay, so I need to square both sides in order to get rid of that square root. So 17,213 squared is going to give me, let's put it in scientific notation. So I'm going to get 2.96 times 10 to the 8th equals 0.24 times 10 to the 12th over r. I'm trying to solve for r. So first I can go ahead and move the r over here. And now divide by the 2.96 times 10 to the 8th. So r is equal to 1.24 to the 12 divided by 4.185 times 10 to the 3rd. Okay, so r is equal to 4.185 times 10 to the 3rd. But we're also told, oh, no, we're just told that the radius of the Earth. I guess if we wanted to see how far it was from the surface of the Earth, we could subtract that distance right there. So there is our r. All right, good luck on your test.